minute. Somehow the sound got turned off. Is that better now? I don't know how the sound could have got turned off. It looked like for some reason the sound was off. Are we good to go now? Can you guys hear me? There you are. Yes. Okay, you can hear me now. Yeah, I know. I checked my settings and somehow my sound, my microphone was off. I don't know. That's the first time that has ever happened. And I can see why now. Now I'm getting feedback. I got to. There we go. Oh, maybe for some reason. No. There. All right. So you guys can all hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? And that wasn't that a Verizon commercials or something? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All right. So yeah, we do got about 7 more minutes here. We can chit chat. Yeah, I can hear you. All right, thanks there, Robert. Appreciate that. I appreciate that very much. Okay, I'm glad I was getting the feedback there. We can't hear you. We can't hear you, but we can see you in the background. We can see you in the background. I can see myself in the background. All right. Of course, you guys can see me for sure. You can see my reflection. This is a way of looking at the Philadelphia Philly holograms. Let me do this one real quick here. There we go. These are back from the I think it was 1990. Yeah, the 1991 hologram cards that you could get from Upper Deck. I had a bunch of these. I had a whole box of them sitting on the side here, and I was just like, why ain't I using these when I do my team histories for the teams that I do have the hologram cards for? So I broke them out, and that's what I'm doing. I did that last week with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and now I'm doing it with the Philadelphia. You can most certainly advertise there, Huber. You can mention your sale, no problem at all, buddy. You already did at the beginning, Huber. I know you kind of. If you want, you can do one more time there, Huber. Go ahead and put a little bit more information in there, but you don't have to keep doing it during the stream, okay, buddy? You can go ahead and do it one more time. That way, if there's a few more people that showed up, we did make it up to double digits already. 5 more minutes before we get into our content at hand. So yeah, if you want to do one more advertisement there, Huber, before we get into our content, you can go ahead and put one more post in there for your sale, okay, buddy? All right, Michael. I love the advertise, and then yeah, I love he advertised and then he asked permission later. That's okay, Chuck. That's okay. There's Huber's trick shots. Okay. That's right. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Thumbs up. We got 10 people in here and 9 thumbs up. 10 thumbs up. Might be able to get a couple more. I think there was some in here earlier. I know every once in a while some people show up right as soon as I schedule the stream, usually the night before, and give me 1 or 2 thumbs up. I do really appreciate that. They do make me laugh. Yeah, it's always fun having the youth in the channel, but that's okay. Eventually, in time, they will grow into maturity, but that's okay. And just so you do know there, Michael, I have not forgot. I am going to try and figure out when I can give you a quick call, okay? There's the link to his channel. I am doing a dollar sale and breaking some Gypsy Queen. That's pretty cool there, Huber. All right. Again, that's 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, I have to remind myself I was young once a very long time ago. I know the feeling there, Chuck. In about a month and 2 weeks, I'll be turning 62. The 9th of July is my 62nd birthday. And that means I become eligible for Social Insecurity soon. Yep, I'm going to take it at 62. I'm not going to wait till later in life. By that time, who knows? Ramona's Oils and More. Hi, Donald. Hi, everyone. How you doing there, Ramona? Thanks for popping into the chat here. Appreciate that. Don't forget my thumbs up in the chat. Here, let me get my thummies up for me. That's what Coffee and Jam with Grizz always says. Thummies up for me. I always wished I was born on the 4th of July. I'll tell you an interesting story there, Chuck. My son's birthday is July 5th. So you think, he missed the 4th of July. Well, there's a technical clause with that. Because my son was born on the 5th of July in Japan. So my son was born on the 5th of July in Japan. So in the United States, it was the 4th of July. So by a mere technicality, my son was born on the 4th of July if he was in the United States. So when he celebrates his birthday in the United States, he can do it on the 4th of July because then it's already the 5th in Japan. I know that's a technicality there. That is the 4th in the USA. Exactly. So he was born on the 5th of July in Japan, so that makes him a 4th of July USA baby. As far as the mere technicality of that. Because remember, those over in the Orient over there, they're a day ahead of us. It's already the next day over there. So that's just my way. So we got about a minute here, and then we will get into our content at hand. That is dope if you ask me. That's just my way of saying my son was born on the 4th of July in the United States. But he was born in Japan. The same with my daughter, but her birthday's in January. She was also born in July in Japan. Both of my children were born in Japan when I was in the military station there. So, hey, Cardinals fan, Cardinals 1990. So we do have 10:30 on the button here. So we are going to get into the Philadelphia Phillies. I am so sad that that Dearman 2019 isn't in here. He'll have to watch the replay and hear me talk about his Philadelphia Phillies. Okay, so without further ado, we will get into the content at hand here since it is 10:30. And I did a refresh here. Even Kevin saying good morning to Ramona. Hi, Kevin. That's the husband saying hi to the wife and the wife saying hi to the husband. All right. So let's get into the Philadelphia Phillies here for the history of the ball club. So for those that do know, when I was a young lad, actually a teenager, when I was a teenager growing up, the Philadelphia Phillies was my team. So that was back in the day with Mike Schmidt, Larry Boa, Greg Lazinski, and such, back in the 70s. I guess I'm dating myself there. All right, so the Philadelphia Phillies are an American professional baseball team based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They compete in Major League Baseball as a member of the National League East Division. Since 2004, the team's home stadium has been Citizen Bank Park, located in South Philadelphia. The Phillies are the oldest continuous one-name, one-city franchise in American professional sports. The Phillies have won 2 World Series championships against the Kansas City Royals in 1980 and the Tampa Bay Rays in 2008, and 7 National League pennants, the first of which came in 1915. Since the first modern World Series was played in 1903, the Phillies played 77 consecutive seasons and 97 seasons from the club's establishment before they won their first World Series, longer than any of the other 16 teams that made up the major leagues for the first half of the 20th century. They are one of the most successful franchises since the start of the Divisional Era in Major League Baseball. The Phillies have won 11 divisional titles, including 5 consecutive division titles from 2007 to 2011. These are ranked 6th among all teams and 4th in the National League. The Hall of Fame third baseman Mike Schmidt is widely considered the franchise's greatest player of all time. The franchise was founded in Philadelphia in 1883, replacing the team from Worcester, Massachusetts, in the National League. The team has played at several stadiums in the city, beginning with Recreation Park and continuing at Baker Bowl, Shibe Park, which was later renamed Connie Mack Stadium in honor of the longtime Philadelphia Athletics manager, and Veterans Stadium. That was when I used to go to the baseball games when I was a kid and from New Jersey. And now Citizens Bank Park. The team's spring training facilities are located in Clearwater, Florida, where its Class A minor league affiliate, the Clearwater Threshers, played at Spectrum Field. The other Class A affiliates are located in Lakewood Blue Claws, who played in Lakewood, New Jersey, and the Williamsport Crosscutters, who played in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The Phillies' AA affiliate is the Reading Fightin' Phils, which played in Reading, Pennsylvania. The AAA affiliate is the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, playing in Allentown, Pennsylvania. From 1883 to 2020, the Phillies' overall win-loss record is 9,825 wins and 11,000 losses, which gives them a .472 winning percentage. Okay, let me pop into the chat here real quick. Hey Chuck, I filmed the first video for my new series for Sunday. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it, Kevin. Ramona, I've been meaning to ask you, do you sell essential oils too? Because there are a few I love to use. Good morning, Chuck. Hope you're doing well. Doing better today. Pray for me on Sunday. That was our anniversary. Oh, your anniversary would have been coming up, huh, Chuck? We'll keep you in our prayers. New video out, Donald. eBay package mail day. Oh, okay. Thanks there, Cardinals 1990. Have to try and make it to your channel and check it out. Huber's Trick Shot says, I'm back. Didn't know you left, Huber. You're always in my prayers. Okay. So let me do a refresh here and get on to the next part of our history for the Philadelphia Phillies. What's wrong with Chuck? Oh, you can read the chat there, Huber, okay? You can read the chat there. You have to know a little bit of the history about Chuck to know what's going on. All right? So let me get into the history of the club now through the years. So the Philadelphia Quakers, as they were known early on in their years, from 1883 to 1889. In 1883, sporting goods manufacturer Al Reach, a pioneer professional baseball player, and attorney John Rogers, who won an expansion National League franchise for Philadelphia, one of what is now known as the Classic 8 of the National League. They were awarded a spot in the league to replace the Worcester Brown Stockings, a franchise that had folded in 1882. The new team was nicknamed the Quakers and immediately compiled a 173 winning percentage, which is still the worst in franchise history, although many sources, including the Phillies themselves, claimed that Reach and Rogers bought the Brown Stockings and moved them to Philadelphia. All available evidence suggests this is not the case. Significantly, no players from Worcester ended up with the 1883 Quakers. In 1884, Harry Wright, the former manager of baseball's first openly professional team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, was recruited as manager in hopes of reversing the team's fortunes. Also in 1884, the team changed its name to the Philadelphians. It was as it was common for baseball teams in that era to be named after their cities. For instance, the Bostons and New York's. However, as Philadelphians was somewhat hard to fit in newspaper headlines, some writers still continued to call them the Quakers, while others began shortening the name to Phillies. In 1887, the team began to play in the newly constructed Philadelphia baseball grounds, later named National League Park. The stadium would eventually become known as Baker Bowl. Despite a general improvement from their dismal beginnings, they never seriously contended for the title. All right. Hi, Huber's Trick Shots. Chuck, if you'd like, shoot me an email or text, and Ramona can accommodate. Chuck Dupree, sounds good. Kevin, hi Chuck, hi Cardinals fan. All right, communication between each other in the chat there. That's what this is for. All right, becoming the Philadelphia Phillies or becoming just the Phillies as they were known in 1890 through 1917. The nickname Phillies first appeared in the Philadelphia Inquirer for April 3rd, 1883, in the paper's coverage of an exhibition game by the new National League Club. At some point in the 1880s, the team accepted the shorter nickname Phillies as an official nickname. Quakers continued to be used interchangeably with the Phillies until 1890, when the team officially became known as the Phillies. So I guess the Philadelphia Phillies actually got their Phillies name in 1890. This name is one of the longest continually used nicknames in professional sports by a team in the same city. The franchise's standard players in the era were Billy Hamilton, Sam Thompson, and Ed Delahanty, who in 1896 set the major league record, since tied by several others, with 4 home runs in a single game. Due to growing disagreements about the direction of the team, Reach sold his interest to Rogers in 1899. With the birth of the more lucrative American League in 1901, the Phillies saw many of their better players defect to the upstart, including a number of players who ended up playing for the crosstown rivals, the Athletics, owned by former Phillies minority owner Benjamin Scheib. While the former teammates would thrive, the American League's first 5 batting champions were former Phillies. The remaining squad fared dismally, finishing 46 games out of first place in 1902, and the first of 3 straight years finishing either 7th or 8th. To add tragedy to folly, a balcony collapsed during a game at the Baker Bowl in 1903, killing 12 and injuring hundreds. Rogers was forced to sell the Phillies to avoid being ruined by an avalanche of lawsuits. In 1904, the team finished with a record of 52-100, making them the first team in franchise history to have lost 100 games. The Phillies won their first pennant in 1915 thanks to the pitching of Grover Cleveland Alexander and the batting prowess of Gabby Cravath, who set the Major League single-season record for home runs with 24. They finished the season with a record 90-62, 7 games ahead of the Boston Braves. The Phillies went up against the Boston Red Sox in the World Series, opening the series at home with a victory. The Phillies struggled against strong Red Sox pitching lineup and surrendered the next 4 games, losing the series 4-1. The team continued to dominate the National League in 1916, but fell short of capturing a second consecutive pennant. The team finished 2.5 games out of first place with a record of 91-62. Alexander won his second consecutive Triple Crown and posted 16 shutouts, tying the single-season Major League record. In 1917, Alexander had been traded when owner William Baker refused to increase his salary. Baker was known for running the Phillies very cheaply. For instance, during much of his tenure, there was only 1 scout in the entire organization. The Phillies finished the 1917 season in second place with a record of 87-65, 10 games behind the New York Giants. I might pop my head in the chat here. Kevin, it's in the 90s in Chicago. You'd love it. I'm miserable. I want the 50s back. Chuck says, I've always loved the Phillies going back to when I was just a wee little brat. I played third base because of Mike Schmidt. That's cool there, Chuck. I always liked Mike Schmidt back in the day. I wish it was the 90s here. We could put on our jackets and go for a walk. Laugh out loud. It's 106 here today. One card I'd love to get sometime is a Philly Fanatic relic card. Is he the one with the green horn nose? Yay. Awesome. All right, so then we have the unsuccessful years in 1918 through 1948. So it looks like Philadelphia had a whole bunch of unsuccessful years. The effect of the Alexander trade was immediate. In 1918, only 3 years after winning the pennant, the Phillies finished 6th, 13 games under 500, and it was the start of one of the longest streaks of futility in baseball history. From 1918 to 1948, the Phillies had only one winning record, which came in 1932. The team finished no higher than 6th twice, and were never a serious factor past June. During this stretch, they finished 8th, last place, a total of 17 times, and 7th 7 times. This saddled the franchise with a reputation for failure that dogged it for many years. The team's primary stars during the 20s and 30s were outfielders Cy Williams, Lefty O'Doul, and Chuck Klein, who won the Triple Crown in 1933. Baker died in 1930, and he left his estate to his wife and the other half to longtime Secretary May Mallon. 5 years earlier, Mallon had married leather goods and shoe dealer Gerald Nugent. With support of Baker's widow, Nugent became team president. Baker's widow died in 1932, leaving Nugent incomplete control. Unlike Baker, Nugent badly wanted to build a winning team. However, he did not have the financial means to do so. He was forced to trade what little talent the team had to make ends meet, and often had to use some creative financial methods to field a team at all. Philadelphia's cozy Baker Bowl proved to be a fertile hitting ground for Phillies opponents as well, and in 1930 the team surrendered. 1,199 runs, a major league record still standing today. Once considered one of the finest parks in baseball, it was not well maintained from the 1910s and onward. For instance, until 1925, the Phillies used a flock of sheep to trim the grass. Fans were often showered with rust whenever one of Klein's home runs hit the girders. The entire right field grandstand collapsed in 1926, forcing the Phillies to move to the A's Shibe Park, 5 blocks west on Lehigh Avenue from Baker Bowl for 1927. The Phillies tried to move to Shibe Park on a permanent basis as tenants of A's. However, Baker Bowl's owner, Charlie W. Murphy, at first refused to let the Phillies out of their lease. He finally relented in 1938, and only because the city threatened to condemn the dilapidated park. Despite the move, attendance rarely topped 3,000 people and fans in attendance at a game. The lowest point came in 1941 when the Phillies finished with a 43-111 record, setting a franchise record for losses in a season. A year later, they needed an advance from the league just to go to spring training. Nugent realized he did not have enough money to operate the team in 1943 and put it up for sale. After lumber baron William D. Cox purchased the team in 1943, the Phillies rose out of last place for the first time in 5 years. As a result, the fan base and attendance at home games increased. Eventually, Cox revealed that he had been betting on the Phillies and he was banned from baseball. The new owner, Bob Carpenter Sr., scion of the Delaware-based DuPont family, tried to polish the team's image and way of doing business. Carpenter named his son, Bob Carpenter Jr., team president. They wanted to shed the image of failure by unofficially changing the team name to the Blue Jays. However, the new moniker did not take. It was quietly dropped by 1949, and the Blue Jays moniker would be used by Toronto MLB club when it started to play in 1977. All right, let me pop in the chat quick. All right, we've got you're the best YouTube channel in the world. I have Mike Schmidt's second year card. I really won his rookie. Can't remember for sure if I got any Mike Schmidt rookie cards. I'll have to double check on that one. Chat Town Sports Cards. Hello, Cardinal. Hi, Chat Town. The only way to make Schmidt better is to give him some Goldschmidt. All right. A dual relic Schmidt and Goldschmidt would be epic. Nice, Chuck. That would be cool. Hey, chat. I'm a big fan of Goldie too. Kevin, he's a good, clean player that doesn't cause trouble. Kevin, did you still have interest in that Goldschmidt I emailed you about? I pulled a Goldschmidt out of 2020. Select 2. For those that wonder, the reason I PC Goldie and like him so much is because of his outward devotion to Christ. He is not shy about it. There we go. That's a great trait. And Kevin says, that means I'll have to keep him for my new PC and not send him to you. Laugh out loud. All right. Boom. Refresh the chat here and move on to the next section of history for the Philadelphia Phillies. The Fightin' Phils from 1949 through 1970. Like Cox, Bob Carpenter Jr. was not afraid to spend the money it took to build a contender. He immediately started signing young players and invested even more money in the farm system. The Phillies quickly developed a solid core of young players that included future Hall of Famer Richie Ashburn and Robin Roberts. This coincided with the final collapse of the A's. The Philadelphia had been an A's town for the most of the first half of the 20th century. Even though the A's had fielded teams as bad or worse than the Phillies for most years since the 1930s, the A's continued to trounce the Phillies at the gate. However, a series of poor baseball and business decisions on the A's part allowed the Phillies to win the hearts of Philadelphia's long-suffering fans. Things started coming together for the Phillies in 1949 when they rocketed up the standings to third place with an 81-73 record. Although the season had essentially been a two-team race between Brooklyn and St. Louis, it was still the Phillies' first appearance in the first division in 31 years. It was also a hitting tribute to Bob Carpenter Sr., who had died in June and left Bob Jr. in full control of the team. The 1950 Phillies led the National League standings for most of the season and were dubbed the Whiz Kids. In the final months of the season, a tailspin triggered by the loss of starting pitcher Curt Simmons to the National Guard service. Because the team to lose the next 8 of 10 games. On the last day of the season, the Phillies hung on to a 1-game lead when Dick Sisler's dramatic 10th inning home run against the Brooklyn Dodgers clinched the Phils' first pennant in 35 years. In the World Series, exhausted from their late season plunge and victims of poor luck, the Phillies were swept by the New York Yankees in 4 straight games. Nonetheless, this appearance cemented the Phillies' status as the city's favorite team. In contrast, the Philadelphia Athletics finished last in 1950, and longtime manager Connie Mack retired. The team struggled for 4 more years with only one winning season before abandoning Philadelphia under the Johnson brothers, who brought out Mack. They began to play in Kansas City in 1955, and then as part of the deal selling that team to the Johnson brothers, the Phillies bought Shibe Park, where both teams had played since 1938. Many thought that the Whiz Kids, with a young core of talented players, would be a force in the league for years to come. However, the team finished with a 73-81 record in 1951 and finished a half game out of first place in 1952 with an 87-67 record. The Phillies managed to end up in third place in 1953 with a 83-71 record. However, they would fail to break 500 from 1954 through 1957. It became apparent that the flash and determination of the Whiz Kids would not return when the team finished last in the National League from 1958-61. Manager Eddie Sawyer abruptly quit the team after the season opener in 1960 and was replaced by Gene Mulch. The team's competitive futility was highlighted by a record that still stands. In 1961, the Phillies lost 23 games in a row, the worst losing streak in the majors since 1900. Things started to turn around for the team in 1962 when the team finished above 500 for the first time in 5 years. Gene Mulch was named National League Manager of the Year that season and won it again in 1964. The team improved to 1963 when the team finished the season with a 87-75 record. There was confidence that the team would soon become contenders for a return to the World Series. Though Ashburn and Roberts were gone, the 1964 Phillies still had younger pitchers Art McAfee, Chris Short, and rookie Ray Culp, veterans Jim Bunning and screwballer Jack Balchin, and fan favorites Cookie Rojas, Johnny Callison, and National League Rookie of the Year Dick Allen. The team was 90-60 on September 20th. Good enough for a lead of 6.5 games in the pennant race with 12 games to play. However, the Phillies lost 10 games in a row and finished 1 game out of first place, losing the pennant to the St. Louis Cardinals. The fold of 64 is frequently mentioned as the worst collapse in sports history. One highlight of the 64 season on Father's Day when Jim Bunning pitched a perfect game against the New York Mets, the first in Phillies history. For the rest of the decade, the team finished no higher than 4th place in the National League standings, which came during the 1966 season. In the 1969 season, the Phillies finished 5th in the newly created National League East Division with a record of 63-99. By the late 1950s, Carpenter decided the Phillies needed a new home. He never wanted to buy Connie Mack Stadium in the first place and was now convinced there was no way he could make money playing there. He sold the park to the Philadelphia Eagles owner Jerry Wallman in 1964, taking a $1 million loss on his purchase of just 10 years earlier. The stadium was deteriorating and there was inadequate parking. Attendance began to drop by 1967 and the team started to plan for a new stadium. The Phillies remained at Connie Mack Stadium until 1970. In the last game played there, the Phillies avoided last place by beating the Expos 2-1. When the game was finished, several fans in attendance began to remove items from the ballpark, such as chairs, outfield panels, and baseball equipment from the dugouts. Pop in the chat here real quick. My new PC is going to be rookie cards and autographs of Christian players. There we go. I shouldn't have said that, Chuck. Well, I'm just kidding. Still got you, brother. Kevin likes Diamondbacks. Chat, forgive me. I completely forgot to reply. I do like that card. I'll email you. Yes, Cards fan. I'm a Diamondbacks fan. Chat, email sent. Okay, and then Kevin, I am like Ryan, like D-backs team 2 skills, Luke Weaver and Carson Kelly, player 2. Interesting. All right. That's cool. Chatting in the live stream while you're listening to the history lesson. All right. So then we have the glory days in 1971 through 1984. This is pretty much my era here. I did join the Navy in 1978. So that's when I pretty much stopped following the Philadelphia Phillies after I graduated from high school in 1977. So the Phillies opened the new Veterans Stadium in 1971. The team wore new maroon uniforms to accentuate the change. The stadium was built in South Philadelphia, making it the first time the team was not located in North Philadelphia. The new stadium, along with nearby John F. Kennedy Stadium and the Spectrum, established the South Philadelphia Sports Complex. Pitcher Rick Wise hurled a no-hitter in the same game, hit 2 home runs against the Cincinnati Reds in 1971. That same season, Harry Callis joined the Phillies broadcasting team. In 1972, the Phillies were the worst team in baseball, but newly acquired Steve Carlton won nearly half of their games, 27 of 59 team wins, and was awarded the first National League Cy Young Award and won it again in 1977. Bob Carpenter Jr. retired in 1972 and passed the team ownership to his son, Rulli. The Phillies achieved some success in the mid-70s with players such as Carlton, third baseman Mike Schmidt, shortstop Larry Bowa, and outfielder Greg Lazinski. The Phillies won 3 straight divisional titles in 1976 through 1978. However, they fell short in the NLCS against the Reds in 1976 and the Dodgers in 1977 and 78. In 1979, the Phillies acquired Pete Rose, the spark that would put them over the top. Okay, and then they were World Series champions in 1980. The Phillies won the National League East in 1980, but to win the league championship, they had to defeat the Houston Astros in a memorable NLCS with 4 of the 5 games needing extra innings. They fell 2-1, but battled back to squeeze the Astros on a 10th inning game-winning hit by center fielder Gary Maddox. And the city celebrated its first National League pennant in 30 years. The entire series saw only 1 home run hit, a game-winning 2-run home run by Philly slugger Greg Lazinski in the Phillies' opening 3-1 win in Game 1 at Philadelphia. Facing the Kansas City Royals in the 1980 World Series, the Phillies won their first World Series championship ever in 6 games, thanks to the timely hitting of Mike Schmidt and Pete Rose. Schmidt, who was the National League MVP that 1980 season, also won the World Series MVP award on the strength of his 8 for 21 hitting, 381 average, including game-winning hits in Game 2 and clinching Game 6. His final game was also significant because it remains the most watched game in World Series history, with a television audience of 54.9 million viewers. Thus, the Phillies became the last of the 16 teams that made up the major leagues from 1901 to 1961 to win a World Series. Carlton captured his 3rd National League Cy Young Award with a record of 24-9. After the series win, Rulli Carpenter, who had been given control of the team in 1972 when his father stepped down as team president, sold the team for $32.5 million in 1981 to a group that was headed by longtime Phillies executive Bill Giles. The Phillies returned to the playoffs in 1981, which were split in half due to a players' strike. In 5 games, they were defeated in the first ever National League Division Series by Montreal Expos And then Mike Schmidt won his second consecutive National League MVP award that year. In 1982, the team finished 3 games behind the St. Louis Cardinals in the East Division, narrowly missing the playoffs. Carlton captured his 4th career National League Cy Young Award that year with 23 wins. For the 1983 season, the Phillies returned to the playoffs and beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. They won this series in 4 games to capture their 4th National League pennant. However, they lost to the Baltimore Orioles in the World Series in 5 games. John Denny was named the 1983 National League Cy Young Award winner because of the numerous veterans on the 1983 team. Philadelphia Daily News sports writer Stan Hochman gave them the nickname the Wheeze Kids. In 1984, the team finished 4th in the National League East with a record of 81-81. Mike Schmidt still remained a dominant force on the team, leading the National League in both home runs and RBIs. Pop in the chat. Nobody there. My favorite era of baseball. There we go, Chuck. All right. So let me pop another refresh in there. So end of days from 1985 to 1991. The 1985 season was the first time the team finished below 500 since 1974. The team had some success in 1986 despite having released star pitcher Steve Carlton due to injuries. They went to finish 2nd in the division with a record of 86-75. Mike Schmidt led the National League in home runs and RBIs that year and also won his 3rd National League MVP award, 6th Silver Slugger award, and 10th Gold Glove. In 1987, closer Steve Bedrosian was named the National League Cy Young Award winner. Injuries caused Mike Schmidt to miss most of the 1988 season, and he retired from baseball after playing in only 42 games. In 1989, the last member of the 1980 championship team was gone. In 1990, Terry Mulholland lost a perfect game in the 7th inning when a San Francisco Giants batter reached base on a throw-in error. The next batter grounded into a double play, thus Mulholland faced the perfect game maximum of 27 batters, but did not qualify for a perfect game. He was credited, however, with a no-hitter. During this time, the Phillies often struggled to attract more than 25,000 people to Veterans Stadium, the biggest in the National League at the time at over 62,000 people. Even crowds of 40,000 were swallowed up by the cavernous environment. Okay. Continue on here. Macho Row from 1992 to 1995. Before the 1992 season, the organization decided to shed the maroon uniform and logo and use colors similar to those used during the days of the Whiz Kids. The season ended with the Phillies at the bottom of the standings, last place in the National League East. However, their fortunes were about to change. The 1993 Phillies were led by stars such as Darren Daulton, John Kruk, Lenny Dykstra, and Curt Schilling. The team was dubbed Macho Row for their shaggy, unkempt, and dirty look. Their character endeared them to fans, and attendance reached a record high the following season. The team powered their way to a 97-65 record and National League East Division title, all thanks to a big April in which the Phillies went 17-5. The Phillies' major contributors on offense were Dykstra, Kruk, and Kevin Stocker, a rookie who led the team in batting average, hitting .324, and Jim Eisenreich, all of whom hit over .300 for the season. Their pitching staff was led by 16-game winners Curt Schilling and Tommy Green. Each member of the rotation posted at least 10 wins, while the bullpen was led by elder statesman Larry Anderson and closer Mitch Wild Thing Williams, who notched 43 saves and a 3.34 ERA. They beat the Atlanta Braves in the 1993 League Championship Series, 4-2, to earn the 5th National League pennant in franchise history, only to be defeated by the defending World Series champion Toronto Blue Jays in the 1993 World Series. Toronto's Joe Carter hit a walk-off home run in Game 6 to clinch another Phillies loss. The 1994 and 1995 Major League Baseball strike was a blow to attendance on the field and on-field success, as was the arrival of the Atlanta Braves in the division due to league realignment. Several players from the 1993 team were either traded or left the team soon after. All right, looks like nothing much new in the chat there, except for Cardinals fan 1990 saying, "Hey Kevin, buddy." And then High Cards fan, we've been chatting all morning. All right. So in their rebuilding years from 1996 to 2002, the team drafted third baseman Scott Rowland in the second round of the 1993 amateur draft. He had reached the majors by 1996 and was named National League Rookie of the Year in 1997. Becoming frustrated with management, he demanded a trade and was dealt to the St. Louis Cardinals in 2002. Between 1996 and 2002, the team drafted players who would soon become the core of the team, including Jimmy Rollins, Pat Burrell, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, and Cole Harris. Former Philly Larry Bowa was hired as manager for the 2001 season and led the Phillies to an 86-76 record, their first winning season since the 1993 World Series. They spent most of the first half of the season in first place and traded first place with the Braves for most of the second half. In the end, finished 2 games out of first. Bowa was named National League Manager of the Year. The Phillies continued to contend for the next few years under Bowa, with the only blemish being an 80 and 81 season in 2002. On December 6, 2002, Jim Thome, who was a free agent, signed a 6-year, $85 million contract with the team. All right. So then we have the golden era from 2003 through 2012. The Phillies' win-loss record never went below 500 during this time frame, and the team won the National League East 5 years in a row from 2007 through 2011. In 2004, the Phillies moved up to their new home, Citizens Bank Park, across the street from Veterans Stadium. Charlie Manuel took over the club's reins from Bowa after the 2004 season, and general manager Ed Wade was replaced by Pat Gillick in November 2005. Gillick reshaped the club as his own, bringing players such as Shane Victorino, Jason Worth, and Jamie Moyer. Ryan Howard was named National League MVP for the 2006 season, and Jimmy Rollins followed up the next year as the 2007 National League MVP. After the franchise lost its 10,000th game in 2007, its core of young players responded by winning the National League East division title, but they were swept by the Colorado Rockies in the division series. After the 2007 season, they acquired closer Brad Lidge through a trade with the Houston Astros. World Series champions in 2008. Though the Phillies were named in some publications as the favorite to repeat as division champions in 2008, they did not get off to a blazing April start that many hoped for. Still, they managed their first winning opening month since 2003, and only their 4th since their last World Series appearance. With a batting average of .360 and his MLB leading 11 home runs, Chase Utley paced the team's offense, followed closely by a resurgent Pat Burrell and his 25 runs batted in. Though team speed was hampered by the loss of Shane Victorino and Jimmy Rollins to the disabled list, the latter for the first time in his career, the Phillies still pushed toward a 15-3 record. June was a take of two halves for the Phillies, as they ended May and started June with a strong run of offense and excellent pitching. From May 26th to June 13th, the Phillies posted a 14-4 record, starting their run with a 15-6 win over the Astros and ending with a 20-2 win over the Cardinals. However, the offense took a downturn as the Phillies pitchers began to sacrifice more runs in the latter part of the month. The Phillies went 3-11 for the remainder of June, with their pitchers allowing an average of 4.79 runs per game to offense's 3.36 runs scored per game. July began with an announcement that Chase Utley and Brad Lidge would represent the team in the 2008 Major League Baseball All-Star Game, with Utley garnering the most votes of all National League players. The Phillies went 8-4 in July before the All-Star break, compiling a 4-game win streak, a 4-game losing streak, and winning 4 of their last 5 in a move to bolster their starting rotation in preparation for the pennant race. The Phillies traded 3 minor league players to the American Oakland Athletics for starting pitcher Joe Blanton, born on July 17th. On September 27th, the Phillies clinched the National League East for the second year in a row, once again helped by a late September slump by the New York Mets. The Phillies redeemed their previous year's playoff performance by winning the NLDS 3-1 in against the Milwaukee Brewers, and they defeated the Dodgers in Los Angeles as well, 4-1. As the National League champions, the Phillies advanced to the 2008 World Series to play the Tampa Bay Rays. After a power outage by the offense, in which they went 1 for 33 with runners in scoring position and the first ever suspended postseason game in World Series history, in Game 5, the Phillies rode their pitching rotation to a 4-1 victory in the Fall Classic. Cole Hemius was named Series MVP for both the NLCS and the World Series. Pat Gillick retired as general manager after the 2008 season and was succeeded by one of his assistants, Ruben Amaro Jr., after adding outfielder Raul Ibanez to replace the departed Pat Burrell. The Phillies retained the majority of their core players for the 2009 season. In July, they signed 3-time Cy Young Award winner Pedro Martinez and acquired 2008 American League Cy Young winner Cliff Lee before the trade deadline. On September 30th, 2009, they clinched a 3rd consecutive National League East Division title for the first time since the 1976 through 1978 season. Okay, the team continued this successful run with the wins over the Colorado Rockies in the NLDS and the Los Angeles Dodgers in the NLCS to become the first Phillies team to win back-to-back pennants and the first National League team since 1996. The Atlanta Braves to have an opportunity to defend their World Series title. The Phillies were unable to repeat the 2008 World Series victory. They were defeated in the 2009 series by the New York Yankees 4-2. In recognition of the team's recent accomplishments, Baseball America named the Phillies its Organization of the Year. On December 16, 2009, they acquired starting pitcher Roy Halladay from the Toronto Blue Jays for 3 minor league prospects and traded Cliff Lee to the Seattle Mariners for 3 prospects. On May 29, 2010, Halladay pitched a perfect game against the Florida Marlins. In June 2010, the team's schedule series against the Toronto Blue Jays at Rogers Central was moved to Philadelphia because of security concerns for the G20 summit. The Blue Jays wore their home white uniforms and batted last as the home team, and designated hitter was used. The game was the first occasion of the use of a designated hitter in a National League ballpark in a regular season game. Ryan Howard was the first player to fill the role. Let me take a quick second here and get a sip of water. Sorry. Hunter Buscher's in the house. How you doing there, Hunter? 25 Perez. Greetings, everybody. Go Yankees. Kevin's card collecting and more. Hey, Hunter and 25 Perez. And cards in his car with our Posada is saying hello, 25 Perez. Sorry about that. I had a little frog. Still might be there a little bit, but we'll continue on here now. The 2010 Phillies won their fourth consecutive National League East Division Championship despite a rash of significant injuries to key players after dropping 7 games behind the Atlanta Braves on July 21st. Philadelphia finished with an MLB best record of 97-65. The streak included a 20-5 record in September and the Phillies' best September since winning 22 games that month in 1983 and an 11-0 run in the middle of the month. The acquisition of pitcher Roy Oswalt in early August was a key step as Oswalt won 7 consecutive games in just over 5 weeks from August 11th through September 17th. The Phillies clinched the division on September 27th behind a 2-hit shutout by Halladay. In Game 1 of the 2010 National League Division Series, Halladay threw the second no-hitter in Major League Baseball postseason history, leading the Phillies over the Reds 4-0. The first was the New York Yankees pitcher Don Larson's perfect game in the 1956 World Series. Halladay's no-hitter was the 5th time a pitcher has thrown 2 no-hitters in the same season, and was also the first time that one of the 2 occurred in the postseason. The Phillies went on to sweep the Reds in 3 straight games. In the 2010 National League Championship Series, the Phillies fell to the eventual World Series champions, San Francisco Giants, in 6 games. Halladay was named the 2010 National League Cy Young Award winner. Before the start of the 2011 season, the Phillies signed pitcher Cliff Lee to a 5-year deal, bringing him back to the team and forming a formidable rotation of Halladay, Lee, Hamels, Oswalt, and Blanton, including Vance Worley, who replaced Joe Blanton due to injury. The rotation combined for a win-loss record of 71-38. And an ERA of 2.86, the best in the majors that year. Commentators called it one of the best rotations ever assembled. Halladay, Oswalt, Lee, and Hamels were dubbed 2 nicknames by fans and media, the Fantastic Four and the 4 Aces. On September 17, 2011, the Phillies won their 5th consecutive East Division Championship. And on September 28, during the final game of the season, the team set a franchise record for victories in a season with 102 by beating the Atlanta Braves in 13 innings, denying their division rivals potential wild card berth. Yet the Phillies lost the NLDS to the St. Louis Cardinals, the team that won the National League wild card, as a result of the Phillies beating the Braves. The Cardinals subsequently beat the Brewers in the NLCS and won the 2011 World Series in 7 games over the Texas Rangers. The 2012 Phillies experienced an up and down season. They played .500 ball through the first 2 months, but then slumped to 9-19 stretch in June, where they ended up at the bottom of the National League East by midseason. With any hope dimming, the Phillies traded key players Shane Victorino and Joe Blanton to the Los Angeles Dodgers and Hunter Pence to the San Francisco Giants before the trade deadline. A hot start in the second half of the season put the Phillies back on the postseason hunt, but any hope was eventually extinguished with the loss of the Washington Nationals on September 28th, costing the Phillies the postseason for the first time since 2008. We pop in the chat real quick here. Hunter, Donald Blomdahl, didn't the Phillies originally start as the Philadelphia Quakers? Yes, they did. You already missed that part earlier, Hunter. But you can always go back and listen to the beginning of the stream when you get a chance later. But thanks for that intel. Hunter Buscher is my assistant history buff here. All right. So let me refresh the live chat here so I know where I left off reviewing. So now we have our last part of this history of the Philadelphia Phillies, the current era, 2013 to present day. During the 2013 season, the team struggled again and was unable to consistently play well for the majority of the season. On August 16th, 2013, with the team's record of 53-68, the Phillies fired manager Charlie Manuel, who had managed the team since 2005, and promoted third base coach Ryan Sandberg to interim manager. Manuel had spent over 9 years as manager, leading the Phillies to its first World Series victory in nearly 30 years and amassing an overall record of 780 and 636 to become the manager with the most wins in the franchise history. The 2013 Phillies ended up with a record of 73-89, their first losing season since 2002. In the offseason, pitcher Roy Halladay retired from baseball. In the 2014 season, one of the few bright spots was the September 1st game against the divisional rival, the Atlanta Braves, when starter Cole Hamels and relievers Jake Diekman, Ken Giles, and Jonathan Papelbon combined for a no-hitter at Turner Field and a 7-0 victory over Atlanta. In the first round of the 2014 MLB draft, the Phillies selected pitcher Aaron Nola with the 7th overall pick. The team could not gain momentum during the season and finished in last in the National League East, the first time they had done so since 2000. During the offseason, Jimmy Rollins waived his no-trade clause and was traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers, while Cliff Lee pitched his last game and was sidelined for the entire 2015 season due to injury. In 2015, attendance began to drop as the team showed little improvement, and it was clear that the remnants of the 2008 World Series team would soon be departing. Sandberg resigned as manager, and bench coach Pete McCannon was brought in as interim manager. Cole Hamels no-hit the Chicago Cubs 5-0 at Wrigley Field on July 25th, striking out 13 and only giving up 2 walks. It was the first no-hitter against the Cubs since Sandy Koufax's perfect game in 1965, and first at Wrigley Field since the Cubs milked Pappas in 1972. Hamels was dealt to the Texas Rangers 6 days later. The following month saw the departure of Chase Utley, who was traded to the Dodgers. In September, general manager Ruben Amaro Jr. was fired, and Andy MacPhail was brought in as interim GM. The team once again finished last in the National League East with a record of 63-99. MacPhail was officially named the organization's president of baseball operations during the offseason. The team then hired Matt Klentak as the new GM. In 2016, the team finished 4th in the National League East, only winning 8 more games that they had the previous year, with a 71-91 record. The 2016 season was the last for both Ryan Howard and Carlos Ruiz, and the Phillies uniform was traded to the Dodgers in late August. Reuniting him with Chase Utley, the team decided to not exercise their club option on Howard, thus making him a free agent. On September 29, 2017, Pete McCackman was fired as manager, and the Phillies announced Gabe Kapler as their new manager on October 30th, 2017. Kapler had been the director of player development for the Los Angeles Dodgers since November 2014. He led the Phillies in the right direction in the first half of the 2018 season, as they had a 59-48 record at the July 31st trade deadline and were leading the National League East Division by 1.5 games over the Atlanta Braves. However, a late season collapse where they went 21-34 from August to the end of the season led to the Phillies finishing with a 80-82 record and third in the division. Aaron Nola amassed a record of 17 wins and 6 losses with a 2.37 ERA and a .975 whip. He finished third in the National League Cy Young race behind the Nationals' Max Scherzer and the winner, the Mets' Jacob deGrom. The Phillies have been waiting for the 2018 offseason since the start of their rebuild, targeting valuable free agents. Owner John Middleton said they were willing to spend stupid money. During the offseason, the Phillies signed Andrew McCutchen, David Robertson, and, making a splash of the offseason, signed Bryce Harper for a 13-year, $330 million deal. The team also made many trades, including trading for the Mariners shortstop Gene Segura and the Marlins' J.T. Realmuto. The Phillies got off to a hot start the first 2 months, going 33-22, but collapsed from there. They were eliminated on September 24th in the first game of a day-night doubleheader in Washington, D.C., and finished with a record of 81-81. Owner John Middleton fired manager Gabe Kapler on October 10th, 2019, after 10 days of intense deliberation with insiders and outsiders alike. On October 24th, 2019, the Philadelphia Phillies announced Joe Girardi as their 55th manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, signing a 3-year deal with the team with an option for the 2023 season. All right, so there we have it. The team history through the years with the Philadelphia Phillies. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed sharing that with you. I don't know why that McCutchen is a Christian ball player. I don't know why that had to be. YouTube said I had to approve this one. I don't know why. McCutchen is a Christian ball player. There's no reason why that YouTube had to say that had to be held for review. So I don't know what happened there, Chuck, but there's your all I had to do is say show. I don't think I've seen anything else this whole chat, but I don't know why YouTube did that, Chuck. Yeah, laugh out loud. Weird. McCutchen is a Christian ball player. What's wrong with that? Is it because you put the word Christian in there? Sometimes you wonder what YouTube's thinking, but I know everything is just computerized, so because they're not really monitoring all the chats. They're letting the computers do it. Interesting. But sorry about that, Chuck. All I had to do is say, oh, you can show that comment. I mean, you can even set up your YouTube channel for certain words that you want to be held for review. But I know for a fact I didn't put Christian in there. Not on my channel. Donald Blomdahl, by God's grace. Come on now, YouTube. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed sharing. I will most likely be opening up my second box of opening day tomorrow in my live stream, because tomorrow for our Hall of Fame Fridays, we only have one person that was inducted in 1965. Is Hunter here? Who was inducted in 1965 there, Hunter? Do you know who was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1965? I don't know if Hunter's still hanging out with us. He's my resident historian that helps me on the channels for my next stream for the next day. So we did go just over an hour here. I did, thank you. I did, thank you. Anyway, let's see. Does anybody have any other questions as far as what's going on in my channel? Here, let me real quick before I do end the stream, I'll show you my wheel of names. We've got tomorrow and Saturday. Let me scroll up here real quick. You can kind of see it right there. Boom. You can kind of see the names. Let me see if I can get it a little bit closer here. There you go. You can see the wheel. You can see the list of the names off to the side here. There we go. Here, let me scroll through. I'll scroll through my list. That way you can see all the names. Yeah, yesterday I must have had more than, I think I must have had, the default I think is 50. So I put it up to, and then I will randomize the wheel 7 times like I always do, to mix the names up so they're not all in the same. You'll see groups. That's depending on the super chats in the channel. Again, every dollar that gets super chatted, you get an entry into the contest for that day. Okay, so every super chat, depending on the dollar size, you get an entry. All my Patreons get an entry if you are the first in the live chat, when I do actually go live, not when I schedule the chat or the stream. So each and every afternoon or evening before I pillow my head, I will schedule my next day's stream and put in anything if any mail call items come in, family mail call. I could have some tomorrow. I have a few packages that my post office told me I have coming in today. But other than that, that is pretty much everything. R. Posada says, that's right, it was Pud Galvin. There we go. That will be our Hall of Famer for tomorrow. Thanks there, Hunter, for providing the intel for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down for a second here. Get ready to say goodbye for today. I will turn the camera around. Of course, you've been seeing me in the background here the whole stream probably. And these mirror-like hologram cards for the Philadelphia Phillies. Let me go ahead and show this again real quick here, because some of it does not show up, but there we go. You can see the Philadelphia Phillies there. You can see me in the background here. I could almost do my signature sign off this way, but I'll turn the camera around real quick and get ready to sign out for today. And I think we're still good with the chat. I might be able to just end here, but this has been Donald Blondell. I've got my Washington State ball cap with the same emblem on there. I've got my Seattle Mariners team shirt on, just my generic team shirt. But do appreciate you guys hanging out and spending time with me today. So in lieu of just one inductee tomorrow, which is Pud Galvin, we will go over him for our induction, Hall of Fame induction series for 1965. He is a 1965 Hall of Fame inductee. Okay, and then we will continue going back in time. So we will be getting into older players as we progress here, because we are now back in, pretty soon we'll be in the players that were inducted before I was born. I know that's old, but just wanted to share that out with you guys. It has been fun. So this is Donald Blomdahl, Hall of Fame veteran, sports cards and collectibles, having been live to you from Arlington, Washington. You guys take care. Have a great and wonderful day, and we will see you guys around the channels, okay? Have a great day, and until tomorrow, we will see you for Hall of Fame Fridays. Bye now. Take care.